Celebrating the legends who made us laugh in the first place. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to present our annual Black History Month luncheon. And this year, we're honoring comedy greats, trailblazers who broke barriers, and funny bones at the same time.
You had to grow up early when we was growing up because your parents were sending to the store to buy. You was too young to buy. I want you to go to the store, give me a fifth of gin and a pack of cigarettes. Mama, I'm 2. They ain't gonna let me have that. Here, take this note. You be a little boy walking down the street with liquor and cigarettes. And your neighbors be going, that's a good little boy right there.
We need a little levity right about now. So we're rolling out the red carpet for comedy royalty. D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Lunel, Dion Cole, Martin Lawrence, and a surprise guest appearance. It's going up Thursday, February 26th in downtown LA at the Grammy Museum. An unforgettable afternoon of stories, celebration, and yes, plenty of laughs. Because let's be real, these legends don't just tell jokes. They have changed the game, opened doors, and made history while making us smile.
You gotta go to child support court. You gotta get there real early in the morning. You see brothers going into court. You see them come out 3 hours later. I can't pay this. Let me talk to you, baby. Please, let me talk to the witness, Your Honor. Let me talk to the witness. Brother be working for 3 weeks, get his check is $43.
This year, for the first time ever, we have set aside a limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon. They are going to go fast, and when they're gone, they're gone. So, if you want a single ticket, or if your company or organization wants to sponsor a table, move swiftly and get to KBLA1580.com right now. All these comedy giants in one room on one stage at the same time? Stop it! This event is going to sell out quicker than right now and sooner than at once. KBLA Talk 1580's annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. It's gonna be legendary, just like them.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
You got to laugh the pain away.
Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Like this. Keep on. Never say die. Keep on. Like this. Never say die.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, joining you in afternoon drive time right here in LA. I'm your host and White House correspondent reporting for duty. I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Follow me on all the socials at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. You know, just type in Dr. Nii-Q, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app if you haven't already. Holler at Alexa and just say play KBLA Talk 1580, and there we are for your listening pleasure. And for added measure, go ahead and subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you won't miss some of our most memorable conversations. Now, it's time for our community calendar, and let me just remind you two things. Yesterday, I was running my mouth talking about how Jilly from Philly was going to be here in LA on January 31st, performing at Blue Note, Los Angeles, in Hollywood. And y'all done sold the show out. It's sold out. The 7 p.m. show and the 9 p.m. show, 9:30 p.m. show, both sold out. And so thanks to all the leaders, learners, and listeners showing Jilly from Philly some love for her one night only performance here in LA. I know we're all eager to hear her new album that comes out February 13th. And we're doing everything we can to make sure that Jilly from Philly knows that Dr. Nii-Q here at KBLA is welcoming her to join us on air for a very important conversation. And so we'll keep you posted as to what happens there. Since she ain't playing with anything, don't play with my emotions. Julie from Philly, come join us here on KBLA Talk 1580 when you get to town. In other community news, it's worth noting that LA says ice out of Minnesota. The Solidarity Action, a day of truth and freedom, is taking place on tomorrow, January 23rd at 12 p.m. noon. It's 12 p.m., 12 noon at Placita Olvera. You have opportunity to stand with Angelinos as folks rally against ICE and Border Patrol's brutal assaults on Minnesota, California, LA more specifically, and communities across the nation. Shout out to the California Faculty Association for organizing this, along with the folks over at SEIU Local 721, among others. And so, look, there are strength in numbers, there's strength in solidarity. And so don't be shy about pulling up to that event. Now it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. And kicking us off this hour, it's worth noting that the Trump Budget Office has ordered a review of funds to, get this, Democratic-controlled states. The Washington Post is reporting that the Trump administration has ordered cabinet agencies to review federal funding for a group of Democratic-controlled states, according to the White House budget officials, and records reviewed by the Washington Post. The White House Office of Management and Budget ordered all federal agencies except the Defense and Veterans Affairs departments to report every grant, every loan, every contract, every subcontract, and other monetary awards to a group of 14 states and the Washington, D.C. The memo sent just this past Monday with instructions to report back by January 28th says the exercise is meant to, quote, facilitate efforts to reduce the improper and fraudulent use of funds through administrative means or legislative proposals to Congress. They say this is simply a data gathering exercise only. It does not involve withholding funds and therefore does not violate any court order. That's what they are saying. What I suspect is happening is they're looking for points of leverage. Sometimes all you got to do is remind people that as you are looking at said contract, sometimes all you got to do is remind people, talk to me nice. Talk to me nice. Otherwise, we might miss a payment. We might freeze this agreement altogether and do an audit. We might do something that makes it difficult for you to draw down upon these funds that you are or have been legally entitled to. And so don't watch what they say, watch what they do. They say this has nothing to do with withholding funds. We're going to see what happens in the coming months with those 14 states and Washington, D.C. What do they do with that information? We're about to find out. In other news, the Washington Post also reporting that Park Service removed slavery exhibit at Independence Park in Philly. The National Park Service staff today took down an exhibit on slavery at Independence National Historical Park in Philadelphia, which has been targeted last year by President Trump in an executive order on, quotes, restoring truth and sanity to American history. The exhibit was at the president's house site where George Washington lived as president. The informational panels discuss Washington's ownership of enslaved people, as well as the broader history of slavery and included details about their lives. The Park Service has been removing information on historic racism, sexism, and LGBT rights, as well as slavery and climate change since last year as it carries out Trump's executive order. And in brighter news, this is probably the brightest news that I've read about today. Sinners filmmakers reportedly blown away by the Oscar nominations record after the horror epic Sinners made Oscar history today by garnering 16 nominations, including Best Director for Ryan Coogler, who hails from the Bay Area, and Best Actor for Michael B. Jordan. Angelique Jackson, senior entertainment writer over at Variety, she has said that she talked to the director. She talked to Ryan Coogler, who was, quote, completely blown away. She spoke with Coogler and his co-producers after the news of the nominations broke. And she said they were just completely blown away by the number of nominations, especially getting a few first-timers in there for some of their stars, including Michael B. Jordan. Sinners, which is a mashup of vampires and blues music set in 1930s Mississippi, surpassed Titanic and La La Land for nominations, followed by Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another, which received 13 nominations. Sinners was also nominated for Best Supporting Actress, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Original Score. And we love to see it. We love to see it. And so congratulations to Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan and Ruth Carter and everyone who received the nomination and was a part of this masterpiece. We can't wait to see what happens next. No matter what happens next, they've still made history. Just saying. When we come forward, we're switching gears. I'm really delighted to be in conversation with my next guest that has a new book that's coming out that I bet you're going to be interested in. It's called The Mixed Marriage Project. It's a rich and riveting blend of memoir and research that tackles issues ranging from redlining to intersectional racism and sexism to personal musings about discovering one's mother's scholarly voice and one's father's commitment to building community. Dorothy Roberts, the author of this wonderful book, joins us when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Light a candle, pour some wine. Grab a roll, the soft kind for a little me time. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear. Wavy edges for my rear. So let the softness caress your soul. Just relax, you're on a roll. Let her rip. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear.
Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has the same softness you love, now with wavy edges that tear better than the leading one-ply brand. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We have no permanent friends or permanent enemies. Only permanent interests. As we effort to build a more perfect union.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. I'm really delighted to welcome my next guest, Dorothy Roberts. She's the author of a new book that you definitely want to check out. It's called The Mixed Marriage Project. It's a memoir of love, race, and family. It follows her journey to understand her parents' interracial marriage and her evolving identity as their daughter, a Black girl with a white father and a Black Jamaican mother. The book is on sale starting February 10th. And here to talk to us all about it, the author, Dorothy Roberts. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me on.
Well, thank you so much for being here. When I first learned about your book, I was excited as the uncle of a number of mixed nieces and nephews. And as somebody who grew up, with parents that grew up an ocean apart. My father was born and raised in Ghana. My mother is Black American and was born and raised in Florida. They met in college in Tyler, Texas, and had me, the youngest of five, many years later in the San Francisco Bay Area. And so I know in my family, there is a mix of heritage, and I see that as a point of strength, as a point of pride. Do you see your lineage, your ancestry, both on the Black and white side in a similar way?
You mean similar to you, or do I see them similarly to each other?
Well, you take it. Go, take it away.
Take that both ways. So
yeah.
I have to say I identify as a Black woman. And since I was very young, I identified as a Black girl. And I have gone through a lot of different versions of my identity over the course of my life, which is a lot of what I write about in my book, The Mixed Marriage Project. And my father, who was an anthropologist and studied interracial marriages, I found out since he was 21 years old as a graduate student. He's the white side of my family. He impressed upon me and my sisters that it was good to be from a mixed racial background. Now, mind you, he was challenging the views at the time, which had been present for centuries in the United States, that children of mixed heritage would have all sorts of social, psychological, and biological problems. And so he wanted to emphasize that we would be actually socially advantaged because we could relate to a combination or different racial communities. And so I always felt that. I never felt that I had any kind of psychological problem because my parents were of different races. But I did go through a period where I began to reject their view that I was only human and I shouldn't think of myself, shouldn't categorize myself by race at all. And I even went through a period where I hid the fact that my father was Black because I thought, this was in college, I thought to be part of this group of Black students that I found in college, I didn't want them to know that I had a white father. I was afraid that they might not see me as fully part of their community. And now I've come to the point, obviously writing a book about this, where I identify as Black. I don't feel that I have even a partial white identity, but I have come to reconcile myself to the fact that my father had as much to do with who I am today as my mother did. They were both the parents who raised me. They stayed married for almost 50 years. My father was very involved in my life. And so I could take your question different ways. I have to say, honestly, I don't feel pride in having European ancestry
Mhm.
the way I feel pride in having Black and Jamaican
Mhm.
ancestry. But I I no longer feel that I cannot acknowledge that my father was white, and I can't acknowledge the contributions he made to me. It made me I like to say he made me the Black woman I am, even though he was white. So that's how I feel. And I also want to recognize that people feel various different ways. There's some people who identify as biracial or mixed.
Mhm.
They want to identify the various aspects of their ancestry, and I don't look down on them or criticize them or want to disagree with them. I'm just telling you how I feel. I feel I identify as a Black
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
It's very interesting to me. I mean, and again, sort of thinking about, my own growing up experience. In a mixed heritage household, very
Mhm,
proud of my Ghanaian heritage,
mhm,
very proud of my Black American heritage.
mhm.
And I'm curious for you, um, you know, how did your father feel about his European heritage? Were there certain traditions that he was raised with that he passed on to you and any of your siblings, if you have any? And you know how was that identity sort of talked about or received in your household over the years?
Yeah. So in my household, my parents both contributed to raising me and my sisters. I have 2 sisters who are they're twins, so they're only a year younger than I am. So we're almost like triplets. I think they call there's Irish twins. I
Yeah.
think we're Irish triplets. And over the course of writing the memoir, I really began to think of, wow, there were lots of ways that my father brought his German and Welsh heritage into our family. His mother was a German immigrant, first generation German immigrant, and he lived with his grandparents in the same house who were from Germany. And his father was born in Wales and came to the United States as an adult. So he was raised in a mixed heritage household with half German, half Welsh. And he taught my sisters and me German songs when we were growing up. We would recite them in German. Mein das hat, mein Hut has der drei Ecken. Yes, my hat has 3 corners. Drei Ecken has mein Hut. I learned German. So I went to German classes in Chicago when I was in 8th grade. I would go to an early class at the high school and learn German in the high school. I loved languages from when I was very little. And I still remember, "Gib mir bitte das Brot und die Butter," which is, "Please pass the bread and the butter." I don't remember anything else. But we learned other songs. We knew about our German uh, grandmother and my German great grandmother, Dora Huch, is the person I was named after. Dora. I'm Dorothy. And he told us funny stories about them because his grandmother spoke English very poorly. And so he told us funny stories about how she mangled the English language. And he was very proud of his father, Alfie Roberts. He said he was a famous football player, soccer player in England. So we learned all of these, but I have to say, maybe because I never met my grandparents on his side, I didn't really feel it was part of my heritage. It was just part of learning about the world. My father was an anthropologist, and we traveled. When I was 3 months old, my family went to live in, my parents and I went to live in Liberia. So the idea that I lived in Liberia when I was very young was very impressive upon me. My sisters were born there. So we had the Liberian connection. And then my mother was from Jamaica, and we were very close to her relatives. We would visit her brother Carlton, my uncle Carlton, almost every summer in Montreal. And my grandparents, my Jamaican grandparents, lived with us for a couple years. And so they came directly from Jamaica to our house and stayed for a couple of years before my family moved to Egypt, because my father had a Fulbright fellowship there. So my point is, I grew up in a household where lots of different cultures were mixed together, and including all the foreign students that lived with us. My mother had the philosophy, she was a foreign student in the United States who needed a place to stay. And so she felt we should open our house to foreign students. All of that was part of my upbringing.
And what an eclectic upbringing. When we come forward, I want to talk about what it was like sorting through your father's papers. You discovered the original transcripts of interviews and uncovered a truth that really upended everything that you thought you knew about your family. It forced you to wrestle with your father's intentions and your own views on interracial relationships. We want to delve into that when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More with the author of The Mixed Marriage Project, the one and only Dorothy Roberts, here with us live when we come forward.
The audience is listening, thought-provoking, eye-opening, heart-rendering. This is where authentic voices meet powerful discussions on culture, community, and change. This is where Black voices matter. He's breaking boundaries, amplifying diverse perspectives, and tackling the issues that matter most to you. You're inside A More Perfect Union with Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. A State House oversight report is sharply criticizing Michigan State Police leadership, blaming MSP Director James Grady and Assistant Director Amy Brimacombe for low morale and a breakdown in trust.
I'm all about solutions, and we haven't looked at any solutions.
Democratic State Representative Jennifer Conlon notes Grady has faced added scrutiny as one of the few Black directors appointed by Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Black Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook appears to have support from a majority of the U.S. Supreme Court in her fight against President Trump, who tried to fire her over alleged mortgage fraud. Justice Brett Kavanaugh warned that removing Cook could undermine the Federal Reserve's independence. And 6 Tennessee House Democrats are calling for ICE to be shut down, accusing the agency of violence and wrongful arrest. Black Nashville Representative Justin Jones says lawmakers must act boldly to protect families, citing cases of alleged ICE overreach. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The 101 southbound is backing up all the way from Lost Hills as you continue to the 170-134 split. You're open through the Cahuenga Pass with delays ahead in Hollywood from Sunset into downtown Los Angeles. Let's get an update in Duarte on the 210. This is heading eastbound right at the 605. This earlier wreck, they had all lanes off limits because of a car that flipped over. But now it's just the right lane that's stopped off. Now, we are still pretty jammed getting out of Pasadena, leaving Fair Oaks. The westbound side a little crowded from Irwindale Avenue to the scene of the crash.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Today, January 22nd, is the 20-year anniversary of Kobe Bryant delivering one of the most iconic performances in NBA history. January 22nd, 2006, Kobe dropped 81 points on the Toronto Raptors in the Lakers' 122-104 victory at Staples Center. In 42 minutes, Kobe made 28 of 46 shots and was 18 of 20 at the free throw line. He outscored Toronto by himself in the second half, 55-41. As electric as Kobe was that night, he was 19 points shy of the NBA's all-time single-game scoring record. That claim to fame belongs to Wilt Chamberlain. As a member of the Philadelphia Warriors, Chamberlain scored 100 points against the New York Knicks on March 2nd, 1962. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford is one of 5 finalists for the NFL's Most Valuable Player Award. Stafford led the NFL with 4,707 yards passing and 46 touchdown passes. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, KBLA delegation, you know what's better than laughing? Laughing while celebrating the legends who made us laugh in the first place. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to present our annual Black History Month luncheon. And this year, we're honoring comedy greats, trailblazers who broke barriers and funny bones at the same time.
You had to grow up early when we was growing up because your parents were sent to the store to buy. You was too young to buy. I want you to go to the store, give me a fifth of gin and a pack of cigarettes. Mama, I'm two. They ain't gonna let me have that. Here, take this note. You be a little boy walking down the street with liquor and cigarettes. And your neighbors be going, that's a good little boy right there.
We need a little levity right about now. So we're rolling out the red carpet for comedy royalty. D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Lunel, Dion Cole, Martin Lawrence, and a surprise guest appearance. It's going up Thursday, February 26th in downtown LA at the Grammy Museum. An unforgettable afternoon of stories, celebration, and yes, plenty of laughs, because let's be real, these legends don't just tell jokes. They have changed the game, opened doors, and made history while making us smile.
You gotta go to child support court. You gotta get there real early in the morning. You see brothers going in the court. You see them come out 3 hours later. I can't pay this. Let me talk to you, baby. Please, let me talk to the witness, Sean. Let me talk to the witness. Brother be working for 3 weeks, get his check is $43.
This year, for the first time ever, we have set aside a limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon. They are going to go fast, and when they're gone, they're gone. So if you want a single ticket, or if your company or organization wants to sponsor a table, move swiftly and get to KBLA1580.com right now. All these comedy giants in one room on one stage at the same time? Stop it! This event is going to sell out quicker than right now and sooner than at once. KBLA Talk 1580's annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. It's gonna be legendary, just like them.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
You got to laugh the pain away.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hit me!
National news of consequence, informed opinion,
and analysis beyond the headlines.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I am thoroughly enjoying this conversation with quite the storyteller, Dorothy Roberts. She's the author of a book coming to a bookstore near you or wherever you get your books. The book is called The Mixed Marriage Project. It is a memoir of love, race, and family, written by scholar, social justice activist, and award-winning author of Killing the Black Body, Dorothy Roberts. She is also a distinguished professor of Africana Studies, Law, and Sociology at the University of Pennsylvania. A 2024 MacArthur Fellow. Hello. And she is here with us today. Dorothy, one of the most exciting things I found about the process by which you put together the story, you actually came across some old transcripts of interviews that your father had done. And that was really the starting point. You had really hit a fork in the road where it was a question of, do you continue to write the story, document the story that your father had started, or do you take these transcripts and do something different? Talk to us about the trade-offs and how you thought about which way to go with these transcripts and why you ultimately decided to take this project to a different level.
Yeah. Well, the memoir or the book, which became a memoir, originated in my discovering the transcripts of interviews that my father conducted of Black-white couples in Chicago. So growing up, I knew that he was doing this research in the 1960s, and it really permeated every aspect of our lives in the house. He was writing this book all the time. He was going out and interviewing couples. Many of the couples became friends of our family. And so I knew about his research, but after he died, I inherited all of his papers. And the first paper I pulled out of the box was dated February 19th, 1937. And at first I thought, well, that must be when this couple was married. And I eventually realized that he was conducting these interviews in 1937, when he was only 21 years old, a master's student at University of Chicago. So I was completely shocked. First of all, shocked that I had all of these interviews, over 100 interviews conducted with interracial couples in the 1930s, during a period where the Black Belt in Chicago was being formed and Black migrants were coming from Chicago. So these were Black migrants to Chicago who were marrying white people in Chicago, many of them immigrants from Europe, and living in the Black Belt because no Black person could live in a white neighborhood. So even if you married a white person, that white person had to live in the Black Belt with you. So just even that discovery that there were all these white people living in Chicago's Black Belt made me want to write a book about these amazing interviews, which spanned 100 years of marriages, because some of the couples were married in the 1880s, and then my father was doing this research until the 1980s.
Wow.
Yeah, his whole career. So I wanted to write up these stories of these amazing interviews I had discovered. But as I started reading the interviews and reading my father's notes and discovering that my mother, when she became his student, started conducting interviews with him. And mind you, let me just also emphasize that this discovery wasn't just how early these interviews were being done, but that my father was interested in interracial marriage before he married my mother. And I discover in the interviews that he began dating Black women in his 20s, long before he met my mother. He married my mother when he was 39 years old. So I thought he got interested in interracial marriage because he met my mother and he fell in love with a Black woman, and then he got interested. But no, he fell in love with Black women from when he was in college, apparently.
So Dorothy, I've got to ask you this question, because I think a number of our leaders, learners, and listeners may be wondering this.
Okay.
And with all due respect,
Sure.
I think there are a number of folks that may wonder, was there ever a moment as you were learning about your father's research on interracial marriages, as you were learning about the story of your parents coming together, was there ever a moment where you wondered, if perhaps there was sort of a fetish afoot when it came to Black women, or, if it was really love?
Yeah, I wondered about that. I wondered about whether or not he married my mother and had me and my sisters as children to prove his theory about interracial marriage. Because added to all of this, my father believed that the answer to racism in America was more interracial marriage. He thought if more Black and white people married each other, they would realize that there really aren't any differences other than racist ideology that separated Black and white people, and racism would be overcome in America. So yes, when I started reading that for example, there's one party I discovered where my father brought 2 Black women to the party. And I'm just, mind you, my father was a relatively conservative homebody professor. My parents never even went out without us 3 children and my sisters and me, and we did so many things together. My mother prepared dinner every night, and we ate together at the dining room table. So to find out that my father was looking to date Black women, yes, it occurred to me. I write about it. I have a very visceral opposition to the idea that people would marry someone because they have some special attraction to or from people of another race. I have to admit that. As you said, I don't like the idea of a sexual fetish based on being attracted to someone of another race. But I also ask, what exactly is that difference from being sexually attracted to someone of your race? You know what I'm saying? So what's wrong with it? And of course, the whole history in the United States of Black men being lynched because of even made up involvement with a white woman. The whole history of anti-miscegenation laws that made it a crime for white people to marry anyone other than a white person. The history of the stereotypes about Black women being sexually licentious, making them undeserving of any legal protection against sexual assault by white men. And the long history of enslaved women, and even after slavery ended, Black women being forced to have sex by white men. All of that comes out in these interviews as well. And I think about, how does that history shape the way in which we are able to love each other across racial lines? I think it's just naive to believe that that history doesn't affect our relationships, our most intimate relationships. But the difficult thing, I think, is figuring out, what is that relationship and how do we love each other as equal human beings in a racist society? We're affected by it. And how do we overcome that? I believe that love can be transformative, but I don't think love by itself, this is where I disagreed with my father. I don't think love by itself can overcome racism. It doesn't transcend race, and it can't by itself dismantle racist structures. One thing I learned from the 1930s interviews, and even beyond that, even into the 1960s, that these couples, even if they thought their love had transcended race, they were still constrained by anti-Black racism. As I mentioned, even white men who decided to marry a Black woman, they had to leave their homes in white neighborhoods and live in the Black neighborhood because they were subject to violence if they had a Black wife living in a segregated white neighborhood.
I once heard someone say that white supremacy is the ocean, not the shark. And considering that thought, considering that idea, what is your parting thought to our leaders, learners, and listeners that, read the headlines and see the images coming out of American cities and, believe that it's just insurmountable for America to become its racial divides. It's insurmountable for American political leadership to not appeal to their worst impulses and exploit the pain that is built into these racial divides. What's your parting thought to folks that need a dose of hope, if any?
Yeah. Well, One thing I learned from reading the interviews took place over decades is that the color line in Chicago that many people believe was impermeable, that could not be crossed, was crossed. It was crossed by these couples. At the same time, it still dominated their lives, but many of them showed that love can be a transformative force when it is part of a broader racial struggle. And that's both the reality and the hope, I think, is that we have to be realistic. I believe that the very concept of race, that human beings are naturally divided into biological races, that very concept has been the most dangerous concept. It has justified all manner of atrocity simply by believing that some people are entitled by God or nature or whatever force to dominate other people, and those other people are destined because of their innate traits to be dominated. Unfortunately, we're living in a society where that idea is gaining traction, and even people in government feel willing to say that, feel willing to say. So it is a powerful, powerful idea that has created wedges between different racial groups in America so that it's more difficult to come together to fight for racial justice. But we also have to remember that for centuries, Black people and allies who are truly committed to racial justice have been able to topple what seemed like insurmountable odds. People used to think that slavery could never be abolished. People used to think that Jim Crow could never be abolished. And movements for justice have been able to do it. The struggle continues. The struggle continues. So my bottom line, this is, my memoir is, yes, about interracial couples, but there is a deeper message there that I found, which is that we can't pretend that we can transcend racism just by our individual feelings. But on the other hand, we can, with a transformative love, breach the kinds of divisions that have seemed insurmountable. We can come together in a love for justice that is able to bridge these racial divides that have been created in order to keep the most powerful people in power and divide the rest of us.
Beautifully said. What a beautiful book. Dorothy, in about 30 seconds, I just got to ask you, were there any mixed race, same-sex couples that were a part of the interviews you did?
Interesting. So I looked for that. Unfortunately, none that were identified as such in the book. I know that, and I cite this in my notes in the book, that same-sex couples have higher rates of interracial marriage than different sex couples, than heterosexual couples, straight couples. But my father didn't identify any of the couples he interviewed as same-sex couples. So I can't speak to that from the interviews he conducted. It's possible. Now, mind you, I looked at the interviews in the 30s, the 50s, and the 60s, different era, where people may have been afraid to identify themselves as a same-sex couple, and therefore they didn't come under the radar of my father's work.
Yeah.
But But yes, the U.S. Census its survey has shown that same-sex couples are more willing to marry across racial lines than straight couples.
Perhaps that will be your next memoir. We want to encourage people to go out to check out the Mixed Marriage Project, a memoir of love, race, and family, available everywhere books are sold, starting February 10th. Thank you, Dorothy Roberts.
Thank you. And it can be pre-ordered. Let me just add that. Available for pre-order now.
There you have it. There you have it. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580, The Quiet Part Out Loud when we come forward. Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you so much.
Striving to make America a nation as good as its promise. This is A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. Their max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Notable journalists, industry leaders, lawmakers, change makers, tastemakers, and you, working to build a more perfect union on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. You've heard me talk so often about my great aunt. We used to call her Aunt Slim, and she died of Alzheimer's. And so it's one of the things that's on my radar, and chances are it might be on your radar as well. The Washington Post reporting on 7 surprisingly hopeful things that we've learned about dementia. Again, if you're like a lot of people, you might be anxious about the risk of getting dementia as you age. The lifetime risk of developing dementia after the age of 55 is estimated at 42%, according to a 2025 study of 15,000 participants. The number of Americans developing dementia each year is estimated to increase from 514,000 in 2020 to about 1 million by 2060. That's a lot of people, but there is room for help. There's reason for hope, rather. An Alzheimer blood test, for example. In May, the Food and Drug Administration approved the first blood test to detect signals of amyloid beta plaques, the biological hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease, with over 90% accuracy. So that's a reason for hope. There are also 2 Alzheimer's treatments approved by the Food and Drug Administration that target and remove the amyloid beta. They slow Alzheimer's progression by about 30%, which could help many patients to win 4 to 6 months of sustained functional independence. So that's something to be excited about. And when it comes to gene therapy in the brain, there's also been progress on other types of dementia. In September, a small trial reported the first successful treatment of Huntington's disease, a rare and devastating neurodegenerative disease that causes cognitive decline as well as movement disturbances and behavioral disruption. To read more about all the reasons to be more hopeful in the fight against dementia, go ahead and check them out on the Washington Post website. We'll have to leave it there. My thanks to the entire village that helps us produce a more perfect union each and every day. Our executive producer, Tavis Smiley, our sound engineer, brother Andy, to our show producers, Faraji and Art, and each and every one of you. We curate this show every day with you in mind. And remember, as tough as the headlines feel, and as shaken and stirred as we may feel by the headlines, remember, don't panic, organize. Do what you can from where you are with what you have. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, and you've been listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580.
And open government. The survey is available online in 5 languages. And a Clay County, Florida school board member is facing renewed scrutiny after skipping a meeting with the State Board of Education. Robert Alvaro was expected to address past social media comments